The Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period begins and brings changes to society. The Zhou dynasty had a kinship-based feudal system, but the system gradually declined as the familial ties between the Zhou kings and feudal lords grew thinner over the generations. Then, in the early 8th century BC, the Zhou dynasty moved its capital east to Luoyi, modern-day Luoyang, after it was invaded by the Quanrong tribe, which resulted in weakening the power of the dynasty. Feudal lords took advantage of this to become independent from the central government and began warring with each other during the periods that came to be known as the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period. During the Spring and Autumn period, the Chinese monarchy maintained a certain degree of authority, but during the Warring States period that followed, regional rulers ignored the Zhou kings and engaged in fierce wars with each other over power.
What are the characteristics of the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period? There were many kingdoms governed by feudal lords in the Spring and Autumn period. Among them, the 5 hegemons were loyal to the main royal family and took supremacy through the cause of defeating the barbarians. During the Warring States period, the 7 warring states united the surrounding kingdoms. During the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period, the kingdoms developed weapons and expanded their territory competitively. The use of iron farming tools and cattle increased agricultural production as well.
Emergence of numerous thinkers amidst fierce competition. During the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period, regional rulers recruited talented people regardless of their nationality and social class so that they could ensure their survival, as well as their prosperity and strong military power in the climate of fierce competition. As a result, the periods witnessed the emergence of 100 schools of thought. They had great influence on Chinese philosophy and academics, as well as politics and culture. Some of the major schools of thought born during these periods include Confucianism, legalism, Taoism, and Mohism. Confucianism, which is the body of thoughts formulated by Confucius and Mencius, advocated kind-heartedness, appropriate behavior, and loyalty as the most important guidelines for moral politics. It became the ruling principle in countries around East Asia, including Korea, Japan, and China. Taoism, which was formulated by Laozi and Zhuangzi, was about living in harmony with the natural world and greatly influenced the Chinese religion and arts. Legalism was about preserving the social order by imposing discipline and strict enforcement of laws. Formulated by Han Feizi, it was widely accepted by regional rulers who were trying to establish a powerful monarchy. In particular, the Qin Dynasty adopted legalism as its official governing philosophy. Mohism, which was represented by Mozi, advocated engagement in impartial care, the practice of collective love and peace, and stood against war.
What were the beliefs of the thinkers during the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period? Confucius. The world will be at peace if the monarch teaches people advocated kind-heartedness and appropriate behavior and imbues virtues. Laozi. Artificial things such as morality or law confuse the world. Confusion can be resolved by living naturally. Han Feizi. The world is confusing because human nature is evil. Those who violate the law must be punished strictly for a good world. Mozi. If we stop war and everyone loves each other without discrimination, it will bring peace.
Qin unifies China for the first time and adopts a commandery-county system. Qin was a small state situated in the northwestern part of China, but became one of the 7 warring states by building structured political power and a large military supported by the ruling principle of legalism. Around 221 BC, Qin unified a divided China. Once it had united China, the king of Qin called himself an emperor to promulgate his accomplishment and strengthen his royal authority. He also called himself Qin Shi Huang, whose meaning is the first emperor in Chinese. Qin Shi Huang implemented various policies in order to effectively govern China over vast territories and transform itself into a powerful centralized government. After dividing the country into 36 counties, prefectures were installed under each the commandery-county system, in which officials were dispatched from a centralized authority, was instituted, and the language across the country was unified. At that time, carts had to be driven along the wheel ruts worn into the roads, but the width of the cart was different in each country, making it difficult to pass. Accordingly, Qin Shi Huang unified the axle length of cars and constructed roads across the country. In addition, by unifying weights and measures and currency that differed from region to region, trade between regions was facilitated.
Why was Qin Shi Huang buried in a grave with thousands of soldiers? Inside the Qin Shi Huang's tomb, there are life-size statues of horses and soldiers, all of which are recreated almost as they were. Each soldier has a different outfit and hairstyle, which shows that Qin's army was made up of various ethnic groups. The terracotta army was created by up to 720,000 workers over a period of about 39 years, demonstrating the power of the Qin Shi Huang at the time.
Execution of a cruel reign. Qin Shi Huang also launched large-scale construction projects, including massive tombs and the Great Wall, to defend his dynasty against the Xiongnu barbarians. However, Qin Shi Huang was criticized by many Confucian scholars because he enforced a cruel reign in accordance with legalism, and became obsessed with magic and alchemy in his search for the elixir of immortality. In response, Qin Shi Huang had all books, except for those dealing with legalism and practical references, burned, and had Confucian scholars buried alive in what came to be known as the burning of books and burying of scholars incident. He also had Confucian scholars buried alive. Qin Shi Huang's sudden death during an inspection tour led to great chaos in the Qin Dynasty. Even though Qin Shi Huang's son took the throne, the dynasty was constantly under attack by rebellions, including the uprising of Chen Sheng and Wu Guang, until the Qin Dynasty collapsed 15 years after unifying China, 206 BC.
What is burning of books and burying of scholars? Qin Shi Huang banned and burned many books and executed numerous scholars. He burned all of the books held by the general people, except those related to medicine, occupation, agriculture, and forestry. In addition, over 460 people who disobeyed the state's order, criticized the emperor's unification policy, or violated the national law were buried in Shenyang, the capital. This was announced to the entire country so that future generations would be wary. The burning of books and burying of scholars was a massive cultural loss.